Hello and welcome everybody to the Maester of Minas Tirith channel. This is the first part of the Lore of Arnor series. In this first part we will discuss the Numenoreans and their exploration of Middle-earth and the colonies that they establish across the continent. This is relevant as it paved the way for the rise of the Kingdom of Arnor after the fall of Numenor. First of all, a small introduction of what Arnor is and where it is located. Arnor is a great kingdom of men, Numenoreans to be specific. The other kingdom of Numenorean descent is Gondor, which is probably more known. The Numenoreans were a civilization of men who were given a gift of longer life after helping defeat Morgoth. They were settled on the island of Numenor, and after its downfall, the faithful migrated to the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor. The story and lore of Numenor will be dealt with in a later series. On the map here you can see where Arnor is located, within Middle-earth. It is located within the lands of Eriador, bordered in the west by Ered Luin, the Blue Mountains, and in the east by the Misty Mountains. The lands of the Shire and Bree are located within the old borders of Arnor. Numenor was not just a normal civilization of men. They were more excellent in crafting and building things than the Northmen and Middlemen were. This great civilization only lived on a relatively small island with few resources, so the Numenoreans went to look at the mainland of Middle-earth to find the resources they were lacking. Under the rule of Tar Meneldur, contact was restored with the middlemen living in Eriador. This contact was mediated by Gil-galad and other elves from Lindon. Tar Meneldur's son, Eldarion, set up a seafarers guild called the Guild of Venturers. He traveled throughout Middle-earth and befriended Gil-galad before he became king. It is likely that fueled by Gil-galad and his own vision, he foresaw the possible threat of Sauron, and thus established certain colonies on strategic places. At first the settlements were temporary, but later on Numenoreans permanently settled within the colonies. Now we arrive at the colonies and how the Numenoreans influenced the landscape and laid the foundations for the Kingdom of Arnor. The most famous colonies of Numenor are probably Pelargir and Umbar. But there was also a colony in the lands of Eriador called Londir. We shall focus on the latter because this is where Arnor eventually was situated. The Numenoreans arrived at the mouth of the Gwathlo River. Tar Eldarion decided this was a strategically smart place to have a Numenorean port, with the threat of Sauron looming. Finnalonde, the port was called in the beginning, which means New Haven. It was the first Numenorean settlement in Middle-earth. Later the name changed to Londir, which means Great Haven. Gwathlo, the name of the river, means grey flood. At first the Numenoreans called the river Gwathir, which means Shadow River. It got its name from the forest located on both sides that arched over the water. The river separates the lands of Enedwaith and Mineriath. Both of these lands were heavily forested, which meant a huge supply of wood. The king of Numenor had forbidden the Numenoreans to cut the trees on Numenor, so to build ships, the Numenoreans cut down trees in Enedwaith and Mineriath. This angered the native population who lived in these forests. These natives were ancestors of what later became the Dunlendings. The Numenoreans started cutting down the forests at the bank of the river and used the river to transport the wood to Londir, located in the estuary of the Gwathlo, where the Numenoreans built their ships. Later, because they wanted more wood for the construction of ships, they cut great roads through the forest, disturbing the forest dwellers even more. The forest dwellers retaliated, however, and started raiding Londir and burning their wood supplies. The forest dwellers supported Sauron because Sauron fought the invading Numenoreans that they hated so much. Later the landscapes of Enedwaith and Mineriath had changed significantly. Deforestation had happened because of the lumbering by Numenoreans, and later the burnings by Sauron to fight the Numenoreans. Without the wood supply, Lon Tir became less useful and declined in importance. The Numenoreans switched their attention to the southern colonies. Lon Tir changed its name again to Lon Tir Eneth, which means Great Middle Haven. The river Gwathlo was still used by the Numenoreans, however. They still traded with the town of Tharbet. Tharbet was also used for shipbuilding. The town was fortified to protect the shipbuilding activities from the attacks of the forest dwellers. The town was also established here for its proximity to the Elves of Eregion. Later, when Eregion was destroyed, Tharbet's importance dwindled as well, though it did become more important as a crossing of the Gwathlo when a bridge was built over the river in Tharbet. This connected the kingdom of Arnor and Gondor. To conclude, the Numenoreans settled in Eriador and around the river Gwathlo for several reasons. The proximity to the elves in Lindon with Gil-galad and Eregion, the large supply of wood because of the forests of Enewaith and Mineriath, the strategic importance for a Numenorean port at the estuary of the Gwathlo River. These actions did, however, antagonize the forest dwellers to the Numenoreans, which made these men support Sauron in the war when he invaded Eriador. It did, however, permanently settle Numenoreans in Eriador, later resulting in the establishment of the Kingdom of Arnor here. Thank you all for watching this first video on the Lore of Arnor. In part 2, we will discuss the founding of Arnor by Elendil, and we will talk about the Palantir. Don't forget to post any questions in the comments, which I'll answer in a Q&A video at the end of this series. If your comment starts with Q&A, I will make a note of your question and answer it in that video. I hope you enjoyed the video.